Good evening, classmates, and good evening, Dr. Rabenes. I'm Hazel Angeline Itasoro, and tonight I'm going to present to you the summary of the video recorded discussion I had with my group mates, Sir Gary Antonio Lirio and Ma'am Carla Jabel Calahara. So let's get started. First up, we talked about transformative leadership, which has a clear sense of values and beliefs and takes leaders to have moral courage. Also, it requires engagement in advocacy and activism and takes the notion of invented social reality. It also draws on critical theories and has the butterfly effect, which means that small actions instigate big changes. Also, it is anchored on a deep structure wherein leaders have to adapt, adjust, and to contribute to co-creation and collaboration among followers to be able to transform them, for them to understand change. Also, we talked about transformational leadership. Transformational leaders have these positions in organizations that want to create changes, and that will pave the way to think about and make and accept these changes. So this is also using the growth mindset, and that would allow them to meet powerful leaders and take inspiration. And it also requires, and its main goal is to develop followers for them to be groomed into good leaders and to be able to raise them through levels of morality. We also compare the transactional, transformational, and transformative kinds of leadership. So by drawing into the different factors such as emphasis, processes, key values, goal, power, and becoming a leader, and of course, the related theories to these kinds of leadership. We also talked about intellectual leadership, which fully embraces the conflicts and tensions of social and political combat, wherein leaders also should exhibit the ability to create powerful ideas and to be able to stand inside a society with conscious purpose, drawn from values in assessing and evaluating opinions through planning and creating a progressive vision. Also, we discussed moral leadership, which is one of the most important and salient characteristics in transformative leadership, which refers to a value-driven kind of leadership where it is anchored on core values, ethics, justice, and moral practice. Also, very important to consider here is equity, which means eliminating gender disparities, believing and accepting that education is for all men and women. Everyone learns and each gender is valued, and that promotes the quality of being fair by developing an atmosphere of mutual trust, support, and respect in place where people feel that they are nurtured. And this is not only applicable to gender, but among all aspects of the human race, such as race, culture, social status, educational background, and the like. Also, social justice is one of the things we discussed, as it talks about respect to humanity in all kinds and forms in consideration of an organization's common goal. With social justice, everyone deserves economic, political, and social rights and opportunities through inclusive, democratic, and transformative practice to change social structures. So we had an overview of transformative leadership, and based on our discussion, so we agree that it manifests in any context and in everyday activities and does not require or demand gestures or context as well. And that transformative leadership proposes that everybody can lead, has the capacity to lead and create changes, and that would require them the grit that they have in themselves. Transformative leaders understand that a comprehensive look at higher education's beliefs and values, pedagogies, policies, and practices is essential. We also discussed the underlying principles and distinguishing features of transformative leadership, which are the following: acknowledging power and privilege, articulating both individual and collective purposes, that's for public and private good, deconstructing social cultural knowledge frameworks that generate inequity and reconstructing them, balancing critic and promise, effecting deep and equitable change, working towards transformation, that is liberation, emancipation, democracy, equity, and excellence, and demonstrating moral courage and activism. First up, we have acknowledging power and privilege. Transformative leaders should have emotional, intellectual intelligence, and of course, hard and soft power. This means that transformative leaders should be decisive but reflective, and they should be able to lead and follow, inspire and listen, as the saying goes, that with great power comes great responsibility. Indeed, power and privilege are connected and come along with each other, which is the opposite of oppression, and that lies on top of the system of inequality. We also discuss about the palakasan or backer system or padrino system that we have in our social structures today. To be able to articulate your purpose as a transformative leader, you have to emphasize the importance of educational institutions, communicating and achieving goals related to equity and excellence, public and private good, and individual and collective advancement. Also, you have to understand that leadership emerges through interactions, and that is through communication and dialogue. There are new knowledge frameworks also presented, and one of the transformative leaders' primary responsibilities is to deconstruct inappropriate attitudes and assumptions which would be toxic for the followers, including long-held conventional wisdom. However, it mustn't stop there, as initiating the process of deep and equitable reform and social transformation would require reimagining students and families and communities as knowledgeable, caring, and capable of high achievement and full participation in all organizational decisions and activities. You also have to balance critic and promise as a transformational leader, and Shields, in the book that we have read, demonstrates that this leadership can promote academic achievement, family and community empowerment, democratic engagement, and global citizenship. Indeed, this is the objective of a transformative educational leader, which is holistic development. To be able to effect deep and equitable change, transformative leaders will have to begin by examining their objectives, and they will determine the nature of the inequity they wish to address. And to be able to transform schools, the transformative leader should have the goals of liberation, emancipation, democracy, equity, and excellence, which would not be exhaustive, but they would only indicate a departure from many of the typical school improvement goals. Now, why do we have to adopt transformative leadership? We, educational leaders at every level of education, from preschool to graduate school, must band together to reaffirm our commitment to transforming education as a critical component of transforming our world. The key to have a successful and transformative world is to have a vision, and the success of an individual's professional development depends on constant learning. Similarly, having firm knowledge and skills in the subject will help to build valuable outcomes, which largely depend on the output of students that is based on learnings through their teachers. It also implies applying it to yourself and to your colleagues, initiating change and accepting it. I mean positive change here. Accepting it means transformation, and that would require pulling themselves up by their bootstraps or succeeding or elevating themselves without any outside help. Now, for our group's takeaways, participatory processes of collaboration, creativity, and transformation for mutual benefit are just some of the many takeaways that we had from the discussion. We also talked about commitment to equality, liberty, and democratic struggle, and requiring ourselves a clear sense of self and knowledge to be able to become transformative leaders, because that would guide us and ground us to be such a leader. Leaders must engage and develop their knowledge, skills, and values. And as a selfless brand of leadership, the goal of transformative leadership is to prepare students to be citizens of the free world, having the capacity to choose, the power to act to attain one's purpose, and the ability to help transform a world lived in common with others. And that ends our presentation. Thank you so much for listening.